he's the nicest asshole I've ever met.
Are we rolling? I think that's gonna be the intro. Listen, I'm Bear Digidio. This is the JAXXON podcast. This is our first official episode. I have a big announcement to make. Twitch will now be coming on board to the JAXXON podcast as a full co-host. He'll be helping us produce his own show. We'll dive into the world of moto, action sports, and things that kind of interest Twitch and give you guys the ability to get a deeper look at one of our main athletes and faces of the brand, but at the same time, the community, the friends, and the culture he grew up in. Something really cool I think about JAXXON is we're going to be able to kind of blend these cultures together. So we're very excited and very honored to have Twitch on board.
I'm stoked.
He's been doing an amazing job. He's natural at this. And today we have a great guest. So Twitch, I'll kind of let you bring us in since we already started off with your intro from Tyler.
None other than Mr. Tyler Bereman over here. One of my kids, one of my best friends.
I like to call you my grandpa.
Yeah,
you've been a role model to me forever, and you've been around forever. So
role models, nice. Grandpa's heavy,
but he's actually gonna be a grandpa now. So
Yes.
it's like the joke's no longer like funny because he's gonna be a grandpa.
Yeah, but you've been calling me grandpa for how long now?
It's gotta been like 10 years at least.
A while. And I remember when everyone would call Metzger the Godfather, and I started calling him the grandfather. And now I'm like, fuck, I was a dick for doing that because I thought you were a dick when you started calling me grandpa.
Well, you taught me well. I did say on my intro here that you're the nicest asshole I've ever met. And that's pretty true.
Where does that come from?
It comes from Twitch being Twitch. If he's not talking shit to you, that probably means he doesn't like you. So if he likes you, he's talking shit, and he's always having a good time. And if you talk the shit back, like it's
even better.
It's even better, and that's why I started calling him Grandpa, because we were talking shit, and then it just stuck. And now everyone calls him Grandpa, and now he's actually gonna be a grandpa.
I know, that was the first thing I thought too. I'm like, when Katrina told me she was pregnant, I'm like, fuck, Beerman's shit came true. I really am gonna be a grandpa. I'm like, no way.
So full dynamic shift. We go from being like sitting with two of the world's most iconic like action sports motor riders to them being like, all right, you guys are grandpas. You guys are getting old. He's like, your stuff's coming true.
Yes, it is.
It's cool though to have you sitting here. Is this the first time you guys have been on like a pod together?
I think so.
Yeah.
I've done a handful of pods, and I've been around some pods. Actually, no, we did. Twitch did talking shit with Twitch for a little bit. And he did it through DBK and did a couple. It was really cool. We were sitting there in his motorhome, just kind of talking shit together and smoking a joint and just enjoying it. And he did that for a little bit. So it's cool to see him starting to do this again. And he's really good at it. And talking shit with Twitch is fun. So
I've always wanted to do. I was telling him, like, I was stoked I got the opportunity to come down here and start doing this. I'm like, I've wanted to do a podcast for so long, but having all the stuff and all the people to do it all, I'm like, I can't do it by myself. Like, I have too much stuff going on. So this literally worked out perfect.
Yeah, it's a good setup, and it's like authentic, you know? Come in here and kind of not be biased and not have to, like, obviously we're a men's jewelry brand and we crush it, but it's not really about that. It's more just about kind of whatever Twitch wants to talk about.
Yeah. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
Why dirt bikes?
Man, that's a tough question. I mean, a really good question too, but it's been in my blood my whole life. My grandpa and my dad did it, and why dirt bikes? It's just like, dude, it makes you feel a certain way, and you can't really put it into words. It like makes you feel alive, and when I'm doing it, I'm not thinking about anything else besides what I'm doing at the time, and it feeds my soul. So that's why dirt bikes.
I love it. Yeah, it's a feeling you can't really explain unless you do it. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And once you do it, it's in your blood forever.
So who got you into dirt bikes? Pops and Grandpa?
Grandpa and my dad.
Captain Ron?
Yeah, my grandpa, Captain Ron, R.I.P.
Yep.
Miss the old man.
He was bad.
He was a bad dude. So he got my dad into riding a long time ago, and my dad raced flat track growing up when he was a kid, and then turned pro for years. So in basically until I was 8 years old, my dad was racing pro flat track, like going to some of the nationals, but racing locally and doing really well. And I got to see my dad do his thing. So that's kind of what started doing moto and when I was 10, and just been wanting to jump ever since then.
Never stopped.
How
rad was it? I remember when we all got in the flat track a lot. How sick was it racing with your dad?
Unreal. It's like that was
such
the biggest
an experience.
Like more importantly than competing at X Games and these events, like that full circle moment for me to be able to race with my dad, see my dad do his thing when I was a Grom, and then fast forward, 10 years later, and we're getting to do it together, and it just brought us so much closer together. And then actually the X Games brought hooligan racing into X Games, and me and my dad both got to go to a hooligan qualifier, and we both made X Games and got to compete at X Games together.
Was that the one in Idaho on the slick track?
Yeah.
Yeah, on the concrete. That one was gnarly.
Well, the first year he didn't make it.
Yeah, but the next year he did.
Second year he made it.
That was cool. Like I remember sitting in the stands watching you guys, just thinking, I'm like, fuck, that'd be rad if I could like go do that with my dad. Like it's an experience that not too many people will get to live, like doing the same sport that you guys both have interest in.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's cool. Like back to that question, like why moto, it brings people closer together and families. And me and you, for instance, when I moved down in 2010, came down here to chase the dream of racing motocross and supercross, and met you, and we've been homies ever since. And brings people closer together. We now have experienced so many things together, and I've had you to look up to. So
that's cool.
It's cool.
I remember the first time Bakes brought you out to come ride with us at Alcatia. And I think you just came off your Loretta's title, right? Like you just came from Loretta's, came out to ride with us. I think we may have smoked a joint or two before we took off to go ride, like
for sure,
free riding. And I remember we get to the first jumps, pretty good size step up, and everyone's thrown down. I look over and I look back and I see you just casing it. Like I'd never seen anyone case a jump that bad before. And I like looked at Bakes. I'm like, he's going to fucking kill himself today. Like, dude, like that was gnarly. And then you fully redeemed yourself.
I did. And I will
on
say
one of the gnarliest jumps I've ever seen at Alcatia.
That case on that jump was a gnarly case, but I couldn't have pulled it any better.
No,
into the tightest pocket and so technical of like, if I had to do that again, I definitely probably couldn't.
Yeah.
But I did it twice, and I like you guys thought I was gonna kill myself, and then later that day I fully redeemed myself. That
I remember that jump that you did. It was an old Sink Mars double going this direction, and then you changed it and you went from the top of the cliff peak to the lip, which was already pretty steep as you're landing. And I remember you eyeing it up and taking a couple runs, and I looked at Bakes. I'm like, it's either going to be really fucking good or really fucking bad. Like it was a gnarly jump. I never jumped it. I don't think I seen anyone else jump it.
It was a high risk jump for sure. There was a tight butthole pocket for the landing, and it was sharp. If you case that thing, you're done.
If you overjump it, you're done.
Jump it, you're done. But I think that jump, there's only been a couple people that I've seen hit it, and I know the Rockstar team went out there when Millsaps and Anderson.
Yeah, when they were all Rockstar.
Anderson was 250 at the time. Millsaps was riding 450 for the team, and they hit it for the photo shoot.
That was one of the cooler photo shoots that I've seen from an energy drink for sure. Yeah, that was cool. Injuries, dude. You, my friend, have back-to-back injuries, and they're always bad. Your last one, you actually broke your arm at my house. First person to break a bone at my house.
Really?
Yeah. No one else has broke a bone yet.
Let's keep it that way.
Yeah, we're trying, dude.
Is that true?
Yeah.
No one's ever broke. I've seen you guys do the craziest videos at your house.
No, that was the first time.
And it's crazy because you had the really technical pit bike jumps.
Yep.
And like now with the ramp's pretty straightforward.
It's what we do every day.
Basically jump that thing with our eyes closed. And that's just what we do is it's not if, it's when, and the one slight miscalculation like can reach up and grab you. So
yeah.
My injuries, man, I say it,
dude.
I say it all the time. Like, when you go to CVS and you buy like 3 items and your receipt comes out and it's like this long.
That's your X-ray list?
That's my injury list. I've been, so like from racing, growing up racing, like I started to add up how many months I've spent off the bike.
Oh God.
So think I turned pro in 2013, had my first surgery in 2009, but since 2009 till now, I've had probably over, I think 54 months off the bike.
Yeah.
Which is like,
whenever you get broke off, it's not like something small. It's like, I broke my whole arm completely in half. Yeah. Oh, I did this. I broke a femur. I did a leg. Like I did an ankle again. Like, it's not like they're easy injuries.
And I'd make this as quick as possible, but 6 ACL reconstructions, 2 broken femurs, completely destroyed ankles, 4 wrists, my arm twice, multiple concussions, collarbones, back, neck. I've done a lot, but the one thing of like why dirt bikes and the way this thing makes me feel and this thing, like, God forbid anything was to happen worse than that, like, fuck it. This thing makes me feel this certain way. Wow. And I went out doing, if it, that hypothetically, that, you know, never want to put that out there. But if it does, like, you heard it here first. And like, I went out doing what I love and I lived my life to the fullest.
I think it's funny because I get asked a lot, like, hey, when you get hurt, like, do you ever get that thought of like, I'm done, I don't want to ride again? And I'm like, I can honestly say I haven't ever had that feeling, because every time I'm hurt, I'm like, fuck, my friends are out riding. I'm falling behind right now. Like, I always tried to, like, in the beginning, I'd always get pissed, but now I look at it like I got a paid vacation I wouldn't have taken.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you need a break to like just chill and relax and get your life together, because it's like every single day it's dirt bikes, dirt bikes, dirt bikes. And then you get hurt and you're like, what do I do now? Like, you get bored. So it gives you time to like work on other stuff.
For sure. And I think too, like, in all that, like, getting hurt, like, it's always not the break that you wanted, but maybe the break that you needed.
Yep.
And I've used so many injuries. Like, I'm going to use my friend Lyon Heron as an example. Lyon, unfortunately, just passed away last December. He had a lifelong battle with cancer for 26 years. He had it since he was basically 4 years old. I think his first cancer, and he made it till 31, and he was the most positive person in my life. And how
110%.
And how I've dealt with all this adversity through injuries my whole entire career, but like having this perspective on it of like it can always be worse, and like knowing like this thing that feeds your soul, like no matter whatever it takes. Like, the first question we ask the doctor, and I know you're the same:
how soon can I ride again?
When can I ride?
Every single time.
Doesn't matter how bad it is. No. Like, when can I ride?
Yeah, bones hanging out of the leg. Like, how quick do you think I can be riding again?
Yeah, so
they're like 4 to 6 months. You're like, I'll be back in 3.
And that's, you know, I think that's something that we do that like a lot of people don't see, of like the blood, sweat, and tears into our thing. Like, we will do it at all costs.
Yeah, you'll ride hurt. You'll ride hurt for months. No ACL, no MCL riding. Like, it's just, we're always in constant pain, but it's like you going back to like the feeling you get from riding your dirt bike. Like, it's hard to explain. It's so damn fun.
And just all of it, like all the injuries, I wouldn't change it for a thing, because in those times of like you said, being able to learn from it, like, I use that as an opportunity, maybe not the break that you wanted, but maybe you needed to like take a step back, and it like makes you appreciate your thing so much.
It does.
And in all these injuries, it's taught me so much more about life, and I've learned so much more about myself in them, that I now use it as motivation. Like, this last one, getting hurt at your house, was like right after Lyon had left, and in that, like, I use that as an opportunity of like what I've learned through my friend of being so positive, and by sharing his story, and anybody that crossed his path, that he changed their perspective on life. So in that was like subconsciously maybe me just like, that was like almost like a not a challenge, but like him to be like, hey, this is more adversity. Like, how do you respond to it? And it's not like poor me situation. It's like how you respond to it and overcome it, you know? So that's, the injury is like, it's been a huge part of it, but like, honestly, I wouldn't change it for a thing. My body hurts. I'm about to be 33 and I feel like I'm 63, but with that, I wouldn't change it for the world, you know? I wouldn't change a thing. And it's brought me a lot of experiences and opportunities, and till the wheels fall off, baby.
That's right, baby. Touching back on the Lyon thing, are we allowed to talk about your X Games gear?
Yeah. So, Lyon, best friend, and the ripple effect of Lyon's message to the world is like forever cemented in humanity, you know, anybody that crossed paths with him. So with that, I'm at X Games, I'm going to honor him. So quick little backstory. So he transitioned on Sunday. I got to see him Thursday night before he left, and him and all of his friends and his family. We did a big lobster boil, and that was like his final meal.
Yeah.
And he told us like that he would show up as a red-tailed hawk, and he was flying. Like, I've seen a red-tailed hawk flying around like every single day I've ridden since I've gotten back on the bike.
Yeah.
And it's just these cool little messages, but that ripple effect that he's had on everybody is now what I'm using as motivation. So for X Games, I'm gonna be honoring Lyon, and I'm gonna be running his number and a full like Lyon Forever kit themed gear, and his whole family and friends are coming, and
So
his
dope.
mom's gonna give me some
That's
of his
dope.
ashes and put in my seat cover. So he's gonna be riding with me, and I'm gonna be riding for him. You know,
Whose
So
idea was throw the pocket on the seat cover and put the ashes in it? You?
I think it was you, honestly.
We were talking about something. I couldn't remember if it was you or me. But yeah, so our buddy Austin Prito, who runs Thrill Seekers, makes all our seat covers, and he'll put like little phone pockets and stuff on there. But he's doing like a little pocket, and he's going to put Lion's ashes in it.
Yeah.
Unreal.
For X Games this year. So
super
it's going to
cool.
be dope.
So being able to honor that is truly special. So in that all, I am filming a project leading up to X Games that'll drop Friday before X Games on the 21st. In the past, I've done a ton of content and videos for other companies and brands, but I've learned from this guy and him showing us the way of like, he did it for brands for years and made other brands money, that he now made his own brand and is making money from that and doing really well with that. But in that, like, taught us like, hey, you don't have to do this, or you don't have to race, you don't have to do freestyle, you can film content and do this. So that's got me on track to where I am today from, you know, having to retire from racing because of injuries and all that. But now being a free rider and doing that, I've done videos and content for other brands for so long that I'm now making my own YouTube. This guy told me to do this like long time ago.
It's about damn time, man.
But you know, I just maybe a little bit of fear associated with that. Maybe I wasn't quite ready. So
Better late than never.
better late than never. And with doing videos, I'm not gonna like, I don't want to get lost in like having to do vlog stuff. I just want to do passion projects and have a place for my content to live. So with that, all that being said, tying this all back into the Lyon thing, this first video is going to be called The Lyon Effect. And that is a true meaning to me of like what Lyon's done for me as a human being, just by being able to call him my friend, which is really cool. So the Lyon Effect, with that, I'm going to have my custom gear, and then I'm going to do a select run. Like, I don't know the exact number of units yet, but going to do some t-shirts to drop a piece of merch with the video name. So that's kind of my model of like making these videos, of doing a cool piece of art for the title of the video.
So
but
smart.
then being able to have that live on a piece of merch and being able to kind of tie that back together. You know, I think that's
So smart.
it's really cool. And it's not to do limited runs. It's like, if you know, you know. And if you got it, you got it. If you don't, then like you wait for the next one. You're not getting it. So that's the kind of the cool part of like not getting too lost in a full merch company and then sitting on product and stuff, and just trying to do one-off drops and let's see what happens. So that's kind of the model, and that's where we're going with it. So the Lyon Effect dropping Friday before X Games, the 21st of June. Really stoked for this project, a passion project, and just trying to get started with it and have some fun with it. So
I think it's dope. I think I was stoked when I heard you say like I'm finally going to start my stuff, because you've always been. He may look like a dumbass and sound like one and do dumb stuff, but he's actually really smart and really creative. Like he writes
does he
shit
have to look
down.
like
That's why I'm the nicest asshole.
nicest asshole. There he is.
Guy looks like Zac Efron. Right? Does he look like a bad? He looks great. Yeah.
But I think you showed like all the years that you did Real Moto, you and Walt, and who did the last one?
I just did one.
You only did the one.
Yeah.
I thought that
I
video,
think-
well, all the videos you've done, like even the Weed Maps videos back in the day,
Yeah.
like all your videos is like, I would always hear you like, no, I want this shot. We got to do this. We got to go there. Like it's so creative. And I feel like that is what sets like, if anyone ever goes back and watches any of your video parts and they actually watch them and like critique it, they're the best video parts out there. So that's why I'm stoked. You're actually getting to YouTube, and you're not going to do like the whole vlog thing like everyone in the world's doing. It's like just dope edits on there.
Yeah. And
I think that's dope.
you know, it's a saturated market right now. Like vlogs are huge, and that's the world we live in, and that's cool, you know. And this is all things that I've done in the past. So like going back to when I was racing Supercross in 2016, me and my friend Darren Durham and
East Coast is Toast tour.
East Coast is Toast, and Darren had his little company called The Viewing, and they would do videos. And this was like way before vlogs were vlogs and videos. Like that's what we started to do that whole year of 2016 East Coast Supercross, and we made all this content. And like from that, like we were always talking about like this is what's gonna happen, and then sure as shit, it all unfolded in front of us, you know. So like now that's where we're at today. Like there's so many vlogs, and it's amazing. People are being able to like make a living off this, but like in that like not wanting to do the vlogs and just do passion projects. I'm not trying to monetize my YouTube and get rich off of that. Like I just want to
put out dope content.
Use cool content.
Do a dope merch drop with it.
Cool music, and do a merch drop and kind of tie it back to that. And like, I
respect it.
I've been like back to like my grandpa and what, you know, he had taught me is relationships are the most important. And I've never really been one.
You watching Cheeto get down back?
Yeah.
Is it distracting?
No, it's awesome.
we got Cheeto Bear and Coach Perillo here at the Jackson House boxing. We told them they can keep training as long as they don't distract us. But I guess we just stopped the entire podcast.
And we're gonna let them leg kick Bereman out.
Yeah, Jeremy set me up and said that when we're done with the podcast that I'd take a leg kick. So I'm gonna have to tell him left side leg because
we'll tell him let's wait till after X Games.
The no ACLs and the two.
Yeah, no leg kicks. It was fun to talk about, but now I'm thinking about it. Like
you know
that's
what?
The last thing I need.
Bear's like, I'll take it.
No. I never said that. Getting kicked by Cheeto Bear would probably hurt.
Oh, dude, 100%.
I'm good on that. I'm good on that. You watch UFC?
I do. I love it. I love it.
He's one of the best in the world right now.
He's bad.
Toughest dude in the UFC.
The hugest fan, and like, you know, there's a lot of fighters in there that don't really have much of a personality, and they're just like they're there to fight and that's it. But like he's got such a cool personality, and just getting to meet him before the pod started, and super cool dude, and nothing but laughs.
Yeah.
And he likes dirt bikes, so we like him even more.
I told Twitch to make us these like DBK pit bikes for this Jackson project we're doing. And I'm like, yo, I want 5 of them, all silver. I just learned how to ride that little thing like a week ago.
That's why I was laughing when he was telling him he doesn't know how to ride, because I'm like, you just wait till you see him ride.
Bro, I've already crashed it like 3 times. And so I had to buy another one because I destroyed the first one he gave me. So, and Cheetah's like, no, I want a red one. I go, whoa, chill out, bro. It's not West Coast Customs.
He wants the red with the gold wheels.
Yeah, bro,
and
doing too much. He saw Twitch pull up. He's like, I want this. I'm like, wait, this guy's not built. I thought he was exhibit. He's not going to build you a bike right now. Chill out. But he's cool. That's the good thing about these podcasts and everything is that, like what we're talking about.
It's a lifestyle.
The brand gets to come together.
For sure.
Yeah.
And
then just
Twitch, like you said too, not to cut you off, you did kind of lay the groundwork for your industry as well on being your own guy. Like 100%. That is a great subject and topic that eventually we need to dive into, like how to do that, because this next generation needs that light.
Yeah.
Like, yo, go build your own thing, you know?
For sure.
We have our own brand. We have our own podcast. We have clothing. But look, it's still DBK, still his thing. Like he still gets to be him because he's already cemented himself and his brand that we don't need to live off that. We just get to have a nice show.
100%.
A lot of young athletes need to talk about that. One thing I do want to say though is you said like, oh, he might want to take a leg kick, Tyler, and I'm not sure if he will, but from mountain bikes to contests to dirt bike, it seems like you do everything underneath the sun. Like you're not scared
anything with 2 wheels, dude.
Yeah, you're not scared of anything.
Anything with wheels, as long as it's not 4 wheels. I'm terrible on a skateboard, but I love snowboarding. I'm not very good at it. I'm so bad at water sports. Like
we took him out wake surfing. It was pretty funny.
Just call me stiff kitty, dude. These knees and these legs and my ankle, how much trauma I've had in those, like whatever, no excuse. I'm stiff. So
stiff on the water.
Stiff on the water. But that's one thing that I wanted to also touch on is I pull all my inspiration from other action sports, and that's what's so cool for me of getting to where I am. And now riding for Red Bull has been such a really cool thing because we're going to these events and there's so many other athletes at the top of their game and their sport and their thing, and just pulling inspiration. So back to like the cultures, like, you know, you said it, like we're here and I'm watching Tito hit bags and dude, it's just so cool. It's like so many cultures that like get wrapped into one, and with good people bring other good people, and it's pretty cool.
That's the best part about this. Like, I just did this hype beast thing. They were out here, and it's like, yeah, that's the whole point. The whole point of this is to bring everybody together. Like, when you build a brand in today's time, it's not about selling product. That will come.
No, yeah.
It's the culture first, the
sure.
community,
Yeah.
And I think back to like what I was saying before we got distracted. Like my grandpa taught me a lot about building relationships. So in that, like I've actually turned down significant raises because it didn't feel right to me internally. And with that,
seems like you have some inside information.
Yeah,
you want to say it?
So, that's why let's touch back on Red Bull. I'm like, me and my wife had to talk him into doing his Red Bull deal because he already had the relationship at Weed Maps. And I'm like, because Red Bull came to him like, hey, we need another guy, like blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, I'm going to make a little more money over here, but Red Bull wants me to do this. And I'm like, Bereman, you can always be a fucking pothead. Like that, you know what I mean? I'm like, getting this Red Bull deal right here literally like solidifies your deal. Like you are an athlete now. Like I'm like, you need this stamp of approval if this is what you want to do for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Like, smart. And that's just coming from me. Like, I did some dumb shit in my career. It's like a lot of it. And like, there was times where it would ruin deals for me. And that's why I was like looking at him. I'm like, you have the talent and the skill to go take over this world of like free riding, freestyle motocross, like whatever you want to do with it. Like, but you need that stamp from such a corporate company like that. And I remember my wife's like, Tyler, you better do this deal. Like, don't be an idiot. Like,
so to that point of I was on Weed Maps forever, and I was talking to my grandpa when this whole Red Bull thing came about, and my grandpa's like, well, you just had the best year you've ever had, and you made more money, and technically you're taking a little bit of a hit to go with Red Bull. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And in that time, it was right before weed was about to go legal, and talking with Weed Maps, they were going to give me equity in some companies, and like there could be some potential dollar signs there. And my grandpa was a businessman, and he saw the dollar signs, and he's like, well, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type thing. And so at first I told Red Bull, I'm like, hey, like, thanks, but no thanks, which is insane.
To Red Bull.
Yeah.
The ultimate action sports company that sponsors action sports.
And at the time, it seemed like Red Bull, there's so much pressure that comes along with that, that like I always, coming from racing, like under the pressure, like sometimes I wouldn't ride to my potential, right? So I was like, is this going to be too much pressure? I've never like been super good under pressure, but now that on the flip side, now that I've done it and been with Red Bull, like I feed off of that, I just had to find that in myself. But anyways, I told them no. And then I went to Jeremy's house and I was talking to him and Suze about it. And Suze literally grabbed me by the head and was like, Tyler, the fuck are you doing? Like, you're an idiot if you don't sign this. Like, when you're old, would you rather see Weed Maps helmets on your wall or Red Bull helmets? And I'm like, you got a point. You got a point.
What Seriously. A great line.
Yeah.
Your wife told him that?
Yeah.
What a great line. I would have never thought about that.
Me either. And when she said
sense.
that, when she said that, I was like, wow, you're right. So I called Red Bull back and I'm like, hey, like I've thought a lot about this and like I'm in. And luckily that thing that was still on the table.
The door was still open. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You may have made a little more money here, but in the long run, you're going to make way more money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's how I look at it.
Now we see where you get your business sense from, your wife.
Yeah. She's smart as hell.
You need a good writer. I guess it's true.
Yeah. That's why I'm getting married.
Yeah.
But in that too, like it's all now being a Red Bull athlete, it's so many things that Red Bull doesn't put into writing of how well they take care of their athletes. And now like I touched on it of being at events with other athletes at the top of their game and other sports and like pulling inspiration from each other for our thing.
Absolutely.
Is really cool. And it's things that they don't put into writing. And I've got to make some of my wildest dreams come true. So looking back on that was absolutely the best decision I've ever made. But with my grandpa too, back to that, he taught me about building relationships. So I've kind of turned down some bigger money salary deals to stay with what felt right. And when I've done that and stayed true to myself, the money then started to come as I just was my authentic, truest self. And like, I'm not someone that like, oh, I can take this paycheck and then like put on this front of like I'm backing this thing when like internally like I don't really feel it. So if I don't feel it, like I'm gonna stay true to what I feel.
Bro,
And that's all grandpa.
coming from a guy who you could look at as a mentor and someone who's kind of like gone through the ring a little bit. Like you're a monster rider, right? I always see you guys with your hats and doing something, and I see these Red Bull videos. Like having a sponsor that helps you outside of racing, right? With like production and videos and content and bringing together the world. Like I've watched Ryan Sheckler for 20 years or 15 years with Red Bull. We go to Lake Powell, there's a boat dropped off. You know, you go to an event, he's sitting in VIP. Like that does for sure play a big part into your brand building or storytelling of an athlete.
Yeah.
Do you look at the same thing, like with you being with a Monster? Like, is there a certain reason why you're with them besides just the pay?
No, I think it just solidifies like your deal. Like I love Monster. They let me do whatever I want to do. Like they could care less what I do as long as I'm wearing Monster stuff and doing my thing and having fun. And for me, I feel like having a deal with Monster helps keep me relevant because they're always having me at events. They're always having me do stuff. Like if I wasn't riding all these events, what would I be doing? You know what I mean? Like I would still be doing stuff, but I feel like it helps keep me relevant.
Yeah, it's cool to get like both sides of that because we see your videos on YouTube. Some of these Red Bull videos are insane.
Well, and that's what I wanted to get into next was, Red Bull Imagination. It's probably, if not one of the sickest free ride events there has ever been. And this was just an idea that you had, and it wasn't even really supposed to be an event at first.
Yeah. So, I mean, with Red Bull Imagination, the idea of it is to build a skate park on steroids for dirt bikes. And we have lightning in a bottle in our right hand with power. Like, as long as you trust the power and your instincts.
And
like,
the builder.
Mr.
Jason Baker from Dream Tracks.
Yeah, the best builder.
So our buddy Jason Baker is the one that built, him and his whole crew builds Red Bull Match. They build all the supercross tracks. Like, the dude's a badass on a tractor. Like, can literally do anything.
Yeah, and it's cool. So, like, he's always in a blueprint of having to build the supercross track to like this certain scale, like distance side to side, and then jumps at a certain height, certain distance, all of that. And now with just as much as it's my imagination of these jumps that I've always wanted to build, it's his imagination too of being able to like have free reign to build whatever he wants. So in all of it, like I would take inspiration from, back in the day to all the Krusty films, to us riding in Beaumont and Ritchie Canyon and Ocotillo and all these really cool natural skate parks, but man, make them and hold it in like one area. And then also going back to like Do Tour events and like X Fighters Glen Helen of like the crazy,
having legit courses
the
with dope
sickest
jumps.
courses of all times. And now like, it's with everything that the nature of sport, it changes and progresses. Like freestyle is now like one jump and a mobile landing, basically one ramp and a landing, when it used to be the really sick courses. So trying to bring some of that inspiration back, and the whole idea for the event was, it wasn't even an event at first. It was more of an athlete project to bring my friends in and
do a video,
film a
right?
really cool project, and then basically 3 to 5 year plan. Like, look, we can now take this, something like this and this formula, and turn it into a contest for free riding, which as free riding, like I grew up racing, and it's either in our sport and our culture, it's either you race or you freestyle.
Yeah.
And I'd stopped racing, and I wasn't quite a freestyler. So,
and you've already spoke your opinion on, I don't want to learn tricks.
I mean, and it's not that I don't, like, I just think like I've done the flip into a pit a couple times, but I'm just like, me being a role model for the next generation of like, hey, you don't have to do this, and you don't have to race, and you don't have to go chuck meat and do double backflips.
Yep.
There's an outlet in between there, and I've gone this long without doing it. Like, it's kind of cool to be able to show kids like, hey, you can still
I really am a pussy
and have personality and do this. Like, and this is not a knock on freestyle at all. Like, I'm super good homies with the whole entire world, and everyone is so gnarly and does so much gnarly things, but I don't know. It just doesn't quite. It's just not
your deal.
It's not my thing.
No,
so.
I think it's cool. You've always just stayed true to yourself. It's going back to like doing what you want and what you feel.
Yeah.
So it's cool. I think it's rad.
Yeah, and it's cool. And with the Red Bull Imagination, it's all started as a talk of this athlete project. And then with COVID kind of hit and the pandemic, and we did it in Kansas. So we were able to kind of get the event off the ground through COVID. And then we did 4 years of it. There's a bit of a pause this year. It's not happening, which is kind of for the better. I'm getting married at the end of the year, and I get to do life and not be guarded by like having to perform.
Yeah.
So, which is really, really, really cool. Life's all about timing, and that's good timing on that.
It's perfect.
But I've been in talks with the next phases of imagination and potentially traveling it, and there's a lot of things that we want to do with it. So,
I think it's rad. I think it's one of the sickest events. I think it's like the whole, like, that's why I was like, I'm like, it needs to be like an experience. Like the days that we're all riding and practicing and towing each other in jumps, like that's probably like the most fun I ever have. Like I think I told Suze 2 years ago, I'm like, this is the most fun I've had on my dirt bike since I rode contests. Like when we flipped a big 135 over the thing and that, like all that, like that was like one of the funnest days ever. And I'm like, it's hard to express that on video. I'm like, it's something that fans need to be there to see, because it's just like a jam of like everyone just helping each other out and having the most fun and the biggest smile on your face the entire day.
Yeah.
Hitting some gnarly jumps.
And that's what it is, man. Free riding in a nutshell, like it's not like me versus you. It's like us competing together for like the common goal of like having fun and getting over these jumps. And like in that, you guys, like the level of progression is pushed naturally, and it's not like forced by any means. So that's what was so cool about it. And if you can basically bottle those days up of like leading up to like the contest day. So through COVID and all that, like the contest got thrown on it first year, and it basically I'm a free rider because I was tired of being in a box of racing, and I didn't want to be in the box of freestyle. So like I basically created my own box, if you will.
Yeah.
And with that, like we were almost put back into a box. Like, hey, you're dropping your third run, you drop at 10 a.m. or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's like you go from like being able to ride and feed off the energy of your friends and be hyped for your buddy to do something cool to like, oh, it's just me and like it's time to perform, and you flip that switch on, right?
Yeah.
But like that's the nature of competition in sport. But in my eyes, free riding is not really a competition. Like we all
just gelling off of each other.
Free riding, like that's the fruits of our labor of being a free rider is having fun riding your dirt bike and riding free and whatever you want to do and make it like it can be whatever. It doesn't have to be jumping the biggest jump. Like you could go do whatever you want to do. And like the two-wheel thing, once it's in your blood, it's in your blood forever.
Yeah. How about the that gnarly jump? I think only you and Axel jumped it. I remember whenever he's going to do something really stupid or really good, you see him in the corner go, he'll take a couple big ass deep breaths, and then I'm like, oh shit, he's going right now. And I'm like, where's he going? I didn't even see this jump that he was like, I seen him roll over the lip a couple times, but I was like, it'll be big. And then when he jumped it, I like looked in the sky. I'm like, oh my God. Like it was probably one of the gnarliest jumps I've seen. And this dude's timing is stupid. He's either 3 feet long or 3 feet short on like stupid jumps where like it would take me like 3 days to even like think about jumping it. But this jump was so gnarly.
So I'm a firm believer of like, you're gonna land where you want to land. So if you can see it,
I wish I believed in myself that much.
Sounds super easy.
If you can see it and like you trust yourself and your instincts, like I've in the last, say, being on Red Bull in the last, like I'm going on year 7, and in the last 5 years, I've really learned so much about myself through adversity and injuries, and I've invested it in myself through Red Bull and like all the things that they have to offer through their gym and like the mental training and all that. Yep. And I work with a coach, like more like a life coach, mentor. He hates the word life coach. But then I also have a performance coach, James, that I work with, and he's really taught me how powerful your brain really is. And in situations of like back to like not knowing if I could do the Red Bull thing because of the pressure, like I now
you look at it a whole different way.
Investing into myself and having people to help me do that. Like I look at it in a different way, and I realize my fullest potential when I'm using all my brain power. So with that going to this big jump, I was so focused and so locked in that like there was it was tunnel vision. Like there was blinders on. Like it was like I was seeing the tunnel straight to the jump, and that was it. People were coming up to me, and I like didn't look at anyone. I was just like,
I remember seeing you
laser
ride by, and like a camera dude or someone walked in your way, and you were just like looking through them, like you just kept riding. I'm like, man, he's focused as hell right now.
Yeah.
How big was this jump?
It was I think 180. No, let's see, 175 to the sweet spot, and I had turned a little too far left, made the jump longer, and I went 184. Barely made it.
But dude, the thing was like a booter. Like he
It's
was
like-
so high in the air.
It's like a turning kind of hip step down that was blind with a steep lip. Like everything about it screamed, "Don't fucking hit me."
Everything.
And when I got there, like I was just coming off of like one of my gnarliest injuries that I've had, compounded my arm, bones came through the skin, and I knocked myself out like really bad. I was out for 12 minutes. They shoved a defibrillator down my throat, like
Wow.
to wake me up, like full thing. Like they thought I was gone. And
See what I mean? Like when he gets hurt, he gets really hurt. He
Yeah,
doesn't he
wow.
doesn't half-ass it.
No.
I lost, couple months of memory, and basically from my crash, 12 weeks to be back on the bike, I would be released, and the 12-week mark was the day of the contest.
I think he rode my house once or twice before he went to the
Yeah, he
event.
rode
Like literally
twice.
right before his bike had to get shipped out. And I was thinking, I'm like, I just have a 75-foot ramp. I'm like, he's gonna go out to like the gnarliest jumps right now. And I'm like, he barely even rode. Like, but that's how gnarly this dude is. Like his skill is so good. Like, I'm stoked to see where you're at in your life right now with
And-
riding your motorcycle.
And when I went, like showed up, I like made this intention with myself. Like, look, I'm always the guy that's the guinea pig. Like, say the year before that, I counted like 128 jumps on the course, and I hit like 114 of them first. So like I had to,
Incredible.
it
Yeah.
was
It's gnarly.
it was out of my imagination, and like I have this relationship with the builder that if he says he builds it and he puts his stamp on it, then it's like I know it can be done. I just have to commit, and there's
Wow.
no pussyfooting.
That's
it.
crazy.
Like, just trust it, trust the process. I know it sounds cliche as
Yeah.
fuck, but it's literally that's it. So without all that, like I was so locked in to like get back for this thing that like I rode a couple times before I left, and I showed up, and as I showed up, like, the builder was there for a month, and I was talking on like, Teams calls and stuff, and like seeing the course, and he'd FaceTime me and like ask about a jump, but it's hard to like put it into perspective until you get there and you see it with your own two eyes. And I got there, and it was like one of the last jumps that he had built around the whole course. And it was the lip to the big one that we were just talking about. And I got there, and I'm like, man, like, Jay, I don't want to hit that thing, but I'm gonna hit it. One of those things, like once I see it and like can visualize it and I know that it can be done. Like if you can see it and believe it, then you can achieve it, And dude, I made this intention to myself. Like there's all these other guys here. Like you need to lean on your team to like delegate some of this stuff and like pick and choose your battles. You don't have to hit every jump out there. Like you have a 5-minute run and way too many jumps to hit in 5 minutes. It's like a skate park, and you pick your run through the park. Right.
Do you like walk the lines with someone?
Yeah.
Okay.
We basically had a scaled like drone shot from the top, and we would sit there and like with a Sharpie, like draw around like where we're going to go, and then remembering where you're going to go. So, but in that, like I tried to lean on other people. And then once I was there and I was in it, like I was like, it's a lot of not really pressure, but like a lot of pressure that I put on myself of like, everyone looks to me like, oh, like this jump, like I'm scared. Like how do I hit it? And then I can see it so much that I just turn my brain off and I do it. And then I'm like, okay, follow me. Like just follow my speed, do what I do. You'll be fine.
Listen to my bike.
Yeah. So did all that. And then it came to this jump. And like, dude, there was 3 nights laying in bed before that like I could not sleep because all I could I was doing meditations. I was like doing yoga in my room, and I was like all this stuff, like trying to like shut my brain off. And anytime a meditation, like hour meditation would stop, I'd fucking
Go back to thinking that jump.
Brain would turn back on, and all I could see was that fucking jump in my head. So finally like went back the next day, and once I actually teed it up, it was like I fucking slept great that night.
It was probably like the biggest relief, like off your shoulders, like, dude, because that jump was heavy. That thing was gnarly.
Yeah, it was heavy, but glad it worked.
Yeah.
Glad it worked.
You build a bunch of jumps and tracks, and you're always on a tractor every time I call you or try to get a hold of you. How do you even prepare for a jump if you haven't jumped it yet? It's not like basketball or football or baseball. You can run drills, or like skating. You can kind of go roll around before a competition. Like if you've never jumped that, how do you prepare?
I think it's funny because like we ride so much. It's like you can look at something and be like, oh, I want to land right there. And your body and your brain just does that. But I think it's just repetition of what we do all the time. Like we literally ride all the time. We're either riding the track or riding ramps out in the hills. Like we could take a couple months off and you still like, I don't know. It's just embedded in your brain. Like you just look to where you need to go and you just put your bike there.
And I always say, dude, it's all feel. And he said, it's muscle memory and repetition. Like if you know the distance, you've
jumped that far before.
You typically know what gear you need to be in, and then you just ride off the ramp a few times or the jump. And if you can't roll it, like you kind of just like roll into the lip with speed and grab the brakes and just kind of until you feel it. And then once you feel it, like it's what we call going hollow head. You just don't think and you go and you trust.
And sometimes too, we'll look at each other like, yo, like we'll all see him or Axel taking a run in at like this big dune jump. And I remember Axel being like, what do you think? I'm like, I think if you stayed with it, you got it. But if you go any slower, you're going to case it. He's like, all right, that's what I thought too. And he'll turn around and just hit it. It's like knowing and trusting someone that you're with that like, okay, I'm not going to kill myself right now. Like, what do you think? You think I got it? You're like, if you think you got it, I think you got it. I'm like, I don't ever want to put doubt in your head. You know what I mean? Like
crazy mind-body connection. People would look at you guys and be like, all right, they're just action sports guys. They smoke weed, have tattoos, and look cool.
But we're actually pretty calculated.
You're like pretty calculated athletes. Like to be able to do that on a machine, like a bike, like this is not like, surfing. You're going to fall in water and the bigger waves you could die. But this is crazy. You're flying through the air on like an actual machine like that. It's crazy to think about how you have to look at that.
And hopefully that machine, if you crash, doesn't tackle you and hit you after you already hit the ground.
Yeah.
I've never even thought about that hurt.
That's another 200
I mean,
that's
pounds.
probably got to hurt more than hitting the floor is having a machine hit you on top of the head.
Both.
Yeah, and then dirt's obviously not soft. So when you hit it,
Even worse. Add all three of those together.
The faster you go, the higher you go, the longer you go, the harder you fall if you do fall. And it's not if, it's when. But this shit's gnarly. We're on a 250-pound piece of metal flying through the air, and a lot of things can go wrong. You're not attached to it, so that's why we love it. That's why I love it.
Yeah,
I'm speaking for myself. I fucking love it. Like I guess quick little thing back to the injuries. Like I have this crazy relationship with so many injuries through my life. My crazy relationship with pain that I don't love it, but I like deep down like enjoy it.
Yeah, you don't mind it.
I enjoyed like the adversity and staring it in the face and like
the comeback, working your ass off, getting ready, like,
and a majority of my career has been a comeback, and like you
just came off your broken arm, and now you're getting ready to go compete at X Games. Yeah.
That's got to be one of the craziest things.
I think you just rode my house, 2 days ago for the first time. Was that the first time you rode since you crashed, like on ramps besides like dual sport and stuff?
Yeah. I've ridden dual sport over the last couple of months. Like, so in my past injuries, I always have this end goal date of like this event, right? So the last one when I did my arm and I knocked myself out, I had that exact 12-week mark until the day of the event that I had to just like.
And what place did you get at that event?
I got second. Axel won.
It's gnarly.
Insane.
Like, and how long were you off the bike for?
Exactly 12. Well, a little less than 12 weeks because the 12-week mark was doctor's recommendations, but I basically forced myself to do everything in my power to get back on before that. And rode twice and showed up and hit the biggest jump of my life, which is crazy.
Did you ever hit a next gen ramp before that? Before this last year's best whip?
Yes.
You did?
Axles.
Oh, but it's not like a legit setup. His was all popped up, all small, like,
Yeah. So it's 22 I competed, or no, 21 at X Games at Axles. I hit the next gen, and then 22 I was hurt because I missed it. That was when I broke my arm, and then I was getting ready for X Games. So with that of like all these injuries in the past and having to like basically put my head down and block out any distractions and do anything it takes to get back to this thing that feeds my soul. Like I've always had that. And this injury, this last one for crashing at your house is, it's been different because I don't have that like end goal date. Yeah. There was a bout of month period there where I was starting to go crazy because we had so much rain and
and
everything
you
looked
ride.
so good and everyone was ripping and like, you know, you tend to like pull your hair out. Like fuck, like you just all you want to do is do your thing. You try not to compare yourself. Like I'm here and there progressing and I'm not and whatever.
Yeah.
Like I try to like block out all that noise, but I just like listen to myself of like when my body's telling me like you start to go stir crazy, like that's when you know it's time.
What year was it when you medaled best whip and then you went out and partied all night with everyone and then got second in quarter pipe on a jump you've never hit in your life before? I love this dude.
Sounds like a mini Twitch.
I had to call him on it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Because
Jesus.
a lot of people don't understand. Like, yeah, like we're professional when it comes down to it, but we like to fuck around and have fun with our friends and like go
doesn't?
party and do stuff. And I thought it was rad. I seen him in the morning. He shows up late as hell for practice. I'm like, you just wake up. He goes, I ain't even been to bed. He's like, I partied all night. I couldn't go to sleep. He's like, we're going into it. And he never hit the quarter pipe before. Goes out and get a silver medal.
You can't fix stupid.
No, you can't. We've tried several times, but you can't fix it.
that was 2017. That was my first X Games. So
First X Games.
I
Hyped, wins a medal, parties all night.
Your first X Games.
yeah. So getting like I never like I wasn't the guy to like be emailing X Games all the time to like try to get in because I was like a kid like good at whipping or whatever. Like I wanted to earn my spot. So X Games had a qualifier at Monster Cup one year and I earned my spot into X Games and I qualified to be there. So my thing was whip, right? And the first year I went 2017 for whip, I medaled that first night in whip and quarter pipe. It was the first year that they brought quarter pipe to X Games and they didn't have enough athletes to compete in it. So they asked me if I wanted to. And like, I had never really hit one. So I was just like, I'm focusing on whip. Right. And then I accomplished a goal of mine of like, you know, an 8-year-old kid. I would tell myself I'm high as a kite and maybe I am, but I would tell myself as high as a kite if I would be competing for X Games medals, like, right. Growing up in the action sports world and culture and, you know, like Salema Maskela is like my childhood voice.
Everyone knows who that kid is or knows who he is.
Yeah. The legend. But, I would have never thought that I would be competing for this. So like that first night whip, I like got my first medal. I was obviously just so hyped and partied a little too hard and stayed up late and then had early practice for quarter pipe the next day. And
almost missed it. Comes running in the arena.
Well, the practice was 2.5 hours and I showed up an hour late. But I needed that extra hour
of sleep, of rest.
X Games get mad?
No, not at all. You have 2.5 hours, so when you show up, you show up.
If you miss it, it's on you.
And like, I don't think like
good for you.
I don't think X Games really like, you know, the boys knew that I was kind of out and going hard.
Who'd you go out with all night?
Fuck, I can't remember honestly.
A lot of people.
Honestly,
everyone goes out at X Games.
It's X Games and like all these action sports cultures together.
Yeah.
And
a bunch of people that you wouldn't think going out are out.
And
together.
Yeah.
And
that's the best part of it.
I think like all these other cultures, like really cool, like skate cultures and BMX and like we're all the same. You know what I mean? We like to have fun. So I went out and had fun. But that next morning, I was like, it was almost kind of good because I was just still hungover, hanging on to the point to like not associate the fear of that first jump. And I got that first jump out of the way and like kind of roasted the thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was like, okay, like got about 30 minutes and hit it, you know, like probably 20 times in the 30 minutes. I was like,
I'm like,
okay,
dude, you're boosting this thing right now.
I feel good. I feel ready. And this was the first year going into X Games quarter pipe, like the first year of the quarter pipe competition. So that night it was on and I literally had the highest jump until Colby went last and he went after me in that first year. And Colby got me by like 4 inches on the last jump.
Barely.
And stole the gold from me, but that's okay. I walked away from my first X Games with 2 medals, and it's been quite the ride since. Of like the quarter pipe competition now is like the most fucked up thing in the world.
It's the raddest thing to watch, but the scariest thing to watch when all my friends are doing it. I'm like, oh, fuck.
And it's a pissing contest. Like who can turn their brain off and like twist it the hardest and
who
go
can
the
be
highest.
the dumbest right now?
Yeah,
and land it.
And it's fucking scary, but like that's where, you know, all this like adversity and preparation and like investing in myself and having these coaches, like I have to lock it in and I have to like take this shit seriously because it's no joke. Right?
Have you medaled every year you've done X Games?
Yeah.
Wow.
Every year?
So 18, I medaled in quarter and I got 4th in whip. And then every other X Games I've medaled in both of them.
Yeah, that's dope.
So I've had, I think last year was my 7th X Games, including from 2017 to 24. Obviously 2020 was canceled because of COVID, of summer X Games. And then I went to X Games Japan and then X Games Norway. But yeah, in 7 X Games, I have 13 medals.
That's a good record to have right there.
Only
buddy.
2 golds. I'm
incredible.
trying to make the next 2 gold like your fucking chain.
I like that.
Where do you keep all your medals right now?
You know, they're sitting on the floor collecting dust.
Oh my God.
I used to keep mine in a shoebox. I never wanted to see them when I was competing.
I have a plan for them. I have like this little office that I have that's my trophy room and all my trophies and stuff. And I have this plan to hang them. Like I saw how you have yours.
Yeah.
But I haven't quite got to it yet. And
Wait till you're done competing.
They're all sitting at the bottom, like right underneath my helmet rack, of just all kind of sitting there laid out, not in a stack, like not getting all scratched and shit. Like obviously care about them, but like
I threw all mine in a shoebox through my whole career because I never wanted to see them. I didn't want to get comfortable with myself and thinking I made it when I wanted to win everything all the time. You know, just I feel like out of sight, out of mind. Like I got to work my ass off because I want a gold medal this year, and then pumped for the weekend. Come Monday, let's go riding again and start working for next year. Like. I think it's cool.
Different mindset.
Yeah. I remember one day my wife, she's like, I think it's time to hang these things up. Like when I was full, I was like, I ain't riding contest no more. And she hung them on the wall on like this rod. It looked pretty dope.
That's what I want to do. Like with the rod, like how you have it. And then that way, if I don't have that mindset to it, like I like seeing it as motivation. Like, okay, like I have this next opportunity to go out and show myself what I got, and why not put my best foot forward so that could go both ways. Like
everyone has their own way of like getting motivated.
Different strokes for different folks, but I want to put that up like you have it, like hanging from the little rod and like have them all hanging out
from like each year.
Leave it with room for more.
Yes,
because it's cool. Because it's a good vibe.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own way of looking at their memorabilia and the design factor. Yo, can you talk to me a little bit about Fast House? Like I love the whole concept, and me and you were talking about that earlier before the show. Like the crew and writing for that and what
you were like their first rider, right?
Yeah. So they had started Red Bull Day in the Dirt. Well, it was just Day in the Dirt, and then Red Bull came on board. And this was well before. This was 26 and going on 27 years ago, and this was way before Fast House was ever a thing. So they started this race through all these stuntmen that worked in the stunt world, and they would all get together on Thanksgiving weekend and do this race and enjoy with their family for the weekend. And then they started calling themselves like the Fast House, and then slowly but surely, like 20 years later, they started to become a brand and make gear. And was really cool. Like when I got on board was 2015, I think. Yeah. End of 15.
You in Durham?
You
at first, right?
I think it was just me first, and then I basically took Darren in there and was like, hey, we're gonna do this East Coast Toast thing, the viewing. Like this was all pre-vlog stuff.
Yeah.
Like 2016, 15 at the time. Like this is what we want to do. Like, do you guys want to hop on board or not? Like, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Like, are you on board or not? So yeah, they signed both of us, and that was like right as they started making like their own pants. At first they had another company, Troy Lee Designs, making their pants, and they just made like jerseys.
Yeah.
And Troy Lee pants and Fast House jersey. And then Fast House started making pants, and slowly it's just taken off. But being able to be on that company and that brand since day one has been really cool. And it's like a family feel now, but they just promote good times and
everything they do is fun.
Yeah.
I loved it when I rode for them. Like they're just Kenny, Amber, like everyone there is super cool.
Super cool. So it's been really, really, really cool to see the company explode too, and kind of be at the forefront of that. And it's been a really cool, fun ride, and continue to be a fun ride from here on out.
You have any new signature gear coming out?
Working on it. Yep. Yeah. My last line just dropped in June of last year. So,
Dope.
yeah, they're obviously a little like ahead of all their stuff. So they're already through like probably 25. So it'll probably come out Q1 of 26 potentially. So, yeah, working on it.
Dope.
A lot of the guys that we were talking about competing and during your era and your era of what you got going on right now, like these like triple backflips and competitions and things, we're starting to see like these like death defying type of tricks. Like, where does the progression of tricks go from where we're seeing it right now?
I honestly, I don't think there is a limit of where those tricks stop. It's just a kid that grew up watching all of us wanting to be better than all of us that's enough motivation right there to go learn whatever you want to learn. But it's also having the skill to back it up. There's a lot of dudes that do some gnarly stuff that don't really have that much skill, but then you see dudes with skill do that trick and you're like, damn, like it's gnarly. Like it's just everyone has their own different flavor and their own style of doing certain tricks. And I think it's cool to see, but I don't ever really see it slowing down too much.
I mean, I think in my opinion, it's just the nature of sport and progression. Like with every sport, like you look at skateboarding and shit we used to do on Tony Hawk Pro Skater, like you're like,
they're doing it now,
there's no
real life.
fucking way, and they're doing it, right? Yeah. And same with snowboarding, like dudes doing, 2,000 whatever 2160s and like fucking 4 rotations and like all this stuff. It's just the nature of sport, and with everything, like it's gonna continue to progress. And like in our sport and in freestyle, like
we actually just lost one of our friends, J.O. Archer, who was super creative, inventive. He was trying to do a quad flip. He ended up doing a deal with Stark with the electric bike, rode it once, was like, dude, I could quad flip this thing. Like there's so much torque, it could spin so quick. And he was just trying them and ended up passing away. But like to see someone go out and try to do 4 flips, like, come on, dude, that's gnarly. Like, and he was dedicated to doing it. Like I think he wanted to do it for X Games this year, maybe. I know he was going to do it on like Nitro Circus and stuff like that, but I don't think the progression really ever stops.
Yeah, and like to his point, like us losing a friend in our world and our culture, like it's still that there's those people with those mindsets that still want to chase this progression and this goal and this dream and continuing to like push yourself in your own limits. Like I really don't know where it stops. Like I've said this for years, and with like doing double backflips, like back in 2006 or something.
Double probably like 2008ish,
something like that. The mid 2000s. But like being able to see where that's gone and just the nonstop progression of that. Like I think it's just the nature of sport and progression, and you can take that formula of like just progression of sport and like apply that to life. Like everyone has a progression in life of no matter what your thing is, right? So I don't think it's stopping anytime soon.
Bro, I mean, even the tricks we see now, even from a guy who doesn't ride, I go on YouTube, I'm like, dude, this looks like fake. This doesn't even look real. Especially those jumps. Yeah, like Kobe and Axel, those just flying through the sky like that. I'm like, dude, when is he going to turn and come down? I'm like, he's going to just keep going.
Yeah, we had Raha in here last week and we were watching quarter pipe from Axel's. I'm like, dude, they're so high in the air. Like with the drone footage, it like shows like how gnarly it is.
Yeah. Never could I imagine that being real.
I don't do tricks. I come from the racing background, but now competing in quarter pipe, like 2 years ago, I was hurt and I sat from the sidelines at X Games and watched quarter pipe. And like when I'm in it, like I'm so focused, like I'm blinders on to everything else. Like I'm not really watching my friends hit it. I'm just staying
focusing
in my
on
lane,
yourself.
focusing on myself, and being able to like not be on the bike and witness the competition from a different lens. I was like, whoa, this is fucking psycho. And like, there's no way we're breaking 50 feet. Like the record was like 38 going into that 22 year. And they went to like, 48 or something?
48 or 49. I thought it was just under 50.
And then I was like, I don't know. I think we're kind of like progressing on how high we can go like on that size ramp. And I'm like, I think 50, like that might be out of the question. Like, I don't know. We're within 2 feet. And last year, I was able to compete, and in my head, like I had that 50 mark. Like I didn't care where, like I had no attachment to if I won, win, lose, or draw, whatever. Like I'm there doing it. But in my head, I had this goal. Like, I just wanted to break that 50 mark for myself and no one else. And we all, like, I think 3 of us broke 50 feet. And that's the world record went from 2 years ago being 38 to now 56. So
that's crazy.
It's gnarly.
back to the point of like the nature of progression, it just keeps going. And like when I said like I had to eat my words of like 50 might be out of the question, and we broke it. So insane. I don't now, like with the nature of progression and sport and all of it, like 60 is not out of the question. I mean, and with the right ramp, 100 is not out of question either. But 100%. And it's, you'd think we're 56 feet above the 22-foot landing. So that's almost 80 feet from the ground up.
That's gnarly.
Which is
thinking
insane.
about it from the ground to where they're at.
I can't even watch it. I get nervous.
In second gear on a 250-pound piece of metal.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'll be a spectator. Listen, I appreciate you coming through the JAXXON podcast, and I appreciate the new show Twitch is doing. One thing I got to ask before you go, are you a stuntman on Lethal Weapon? Did you do a show?
I did.
What's going on with this?
I did Lethal Weapon, the TV show. I've done a movie called Axel. I did the Animal Kingdom, the TV show. I've done some stunts on that. And then I just did a month in South Carolina 2 years ago on Danny McBride's The Righteous Gemstones.
Oh, I love that show.
Love that show.
All the motorcycle stuff?
Yeah. That was you?
Yeah. I was a cycle ninja.
I love that show.
Yeah, it's so good. So that's something that, like, back to the FASTHOUSE thing that started, and they were all stuntmen that started FASTHOUSE, and that's kind of how I got my foot in that door. And with the first job that I had bought my SAG card with the money that I made, and then kind of just invested in myself. I haven't done a ton, but I've done a little bit here and there, and it's been cool to dabble. But I do know that, like, I'm staying true to what I'm doing right now. I know what I'm doing right now is not going to last forever, and maybe I can fall back into that. But I do know, like, that being on sets and seeing how all that stuff comes together in the production, it helps me a lot with my own events and projects. So with, like, Red Bull Imagination, you know, being the lead host athlete and lead athlete, and then, like, the guinea pig, and then helping with the production crew and the film crew and, like, all the operations, like, I'm wearing a lot of hats, and I do a lot more than people don't see.
Yeah.
But with
There's
that,
a lot that goes into content.
A lot.
And it comes with, you know, being able to be on set and doing some stunt stuff, like, has really helped me open my eyes to that stuff and how to navigate it. So really cool, really thankful for that opportunity, and never know where it'll lead. But it's been a fun ride. Incredible.
I mean, it's cool to see you transition and kind of dabble in a little bit of everything. The content, I think, is phenomenal. For those of you guys out there who want to see some of the sickest riding in the streets of LA, just go on YouTube and search this guy's name. You'll see some of the craziest stuff ever. And Twitch, I appreciate you, and we'll see who you bring on next. Your lineup has been incredible so far.
Yep.
I mean, for those of you guys that want to go back and watch some of the older episodes, Jeremy McGrath, Filippo, I mean, the list is going to keep going. Legends. So it's amazing. JAXXON podcast. I'm Bear to GDO. Twitch, you have anything else?
Nope.
That's it. You have anything else?
Thanks for having me, boys. Be on the lookout for the Lyon Effect. Stoked to do it for my buddy Lyon and with my buddy Lyon at X Games. Hoping to come out with a couple gold chains.
You better get 2.
Twitch wants 2. You heard it here. If he gets 2, we'll have him back on for part 2 of the podcast. I'm Bear to GDO, and we out.
See ya.